Welcome in to Extreme Talk, presented by Complete Solutions, Complete Real Estate, your one-stop shop for financial coaching and asset management. We're also presented by Goolsby and Young, Jason Goolsby and J.D. Young. We'll fade out. Goolsby and Young, Brent Atkinson with Wycard Realtors, the Realty Group, Fairlife, Core Power Protein, and by Sutton Pools. James Shannon here on a Sunday afternoon. It has been a hectic one, and we're going to give you a little bit of a break today. No video. So, not going to go into why, but no video. So, got a good show for you ahead. 4:15, we'll bring in Coach Kyle Collins. He is from the Freedom Cowboys, and, of course, Cowboys sitting at 2-0. Big win Friday night. Big comeback win, so we'll talk to Coach about that. And, of course, we'll have their game coming up on Friday night. They will be hosting Ezekiel Academy, the Knights, who are coming off a loss to Russell Christian. So we'll go through that, and we'll talk to Coach. And then at 5 o'clock, we'll bring on Coach Tim Humans. He is the head coach of the Pack Panthers, and he is also the I'll say head man. I don't know what his exact title is, but head man with the SIFA. They are the Southern Independent Football Association, and they have Pack Panthers, Augusta Eagles, Orangeburg Christian, Harvest Christian, and Faith Christian. Not Faith Christian. They have the Coastal Hurricanes are in that division, in that conference as well. So we will talk to Coach Humans here in a little bit. Just over an hour, so we'll talk to him. We will recap what happened this past Friday night, Saturday night, Thursday night too. Had a little bit of Thursday night football, so you love to see it. A lot more teams adopting that, especially with what's going on with officials and the shortages, trying to just make sure everybody has what they need. So you love to see a little bit of Thursday night football. Just kind of spread it out, before the NFL jumps on Thursday nights, which depending on who your team is, you may not care about Thursday night football, but regardless, it's here and it's here to enjoy. Real quick, the NHSA has released their initial rankings. Of course, they're waiting for the season to get 2 or 3 weeks underway, depending on where you're at. That may have been your week 1 game this past Friday night. But they have not released it. So they've given us an initial look at those rankings. So I'm going to pull them up real quick and run through them. If I can get this pulled up. Come on. There we go. So top 10 is really going to be the main focus. Let's see if we can bring up. There we go. All right. So, sitting at number 1, and it's really no surprise. It's kind of understood. Until you get knocked off the mountain, you are on top of the mountain. So, number 1, Evangel Christian, Alabaster, Alabama, 3-0. And you can make an argument, well, who have they played? Well, that's not for you to sort through. They're 3-0. Guess what? If they were the 4-time defending national champions, and then they play the teams that they've played over the last couple weeks, and they're 0-3, well, then at that point you're going to put them at the bottom of the list. And then they beat them, but then they beat them, and you're going to be like, well, why are they number 1? Well, they're undefeated. Okay, knock them off, and then we'll talk. Number 2 is a team that has looked good over the last couple weeks. A lot of people saying they look good at the Jamboree that they hosted earlier on in the season. Had a couple tough games last year, but it looks like they have really, really bounced back. So Franklin Christian is number 2 at 2-0. The Freedom Cowboys sitting at number 3 at 2-0 as well. Big wins over Zion Christian, an in-conference win. And then Providence Christian got the big win on Friday night, as we mentioned. We'll talk about it. Number 4 is Russell Christian, sitting at 2-0. And, of course, they got a big win over Ezekiel Academy this last Friday night. Providence Christian is sitting at number 5 at 1-1. win over Lancaster Christian, and then the loss to the Freedom Cowboys, who are at number 3. So Providence sitting at number 5. And I've said it all year, so far in this season, I really, really like what I've seen out of the Lions. I know they had a little bit of an issue Friday night. They jumped ahead and then, gave up 26 points. But regardless, I think they're a good football team. So, number 5. Number 6 is kind of a newcomer, first-year program up north for us in Tennessee and here in the South. It's the Fort Wayne King Crusaders. They are out of Indiana. They are 2-0. They beat Holgate, which I believe they're out of Ohio, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong on that. But they are 2-0. So Fort Wayne King Crusaders sitting at number 6. Number 7, another newcomer to 8-man football, not to football, but to 8-man. I'm sorry, it's not the newcomer. They have been playing 8 for a while. Actually, they used to be a 6-man team and recently made the jump to 8-man, and they have done really well so far this year, sitting at 2-0. It's Cornerstone Christian out of Rainsville, Alabama. Of course, there's 2 of them down there, but they are sitting at 2-0. And so they are number 7 rather. Lighthouse Homeschool out of I always say it wrong and I get made fun of for saying it wrong. So I'm gonna pronounce it the way that it looks. Oneota, Alabama. Of course, big wins over Tennessee Heat, and then they beat Tabernacle, and then this past Friday night, big win over Trinity Homeschool. So Lighthouse Homeschool sitting at 3-0 at number 9. So very widespread top 10. You got to love it. Number 9 is actually KC East. They're out of Kansas City, Missouri. And I believe they're independent, if I'm not mistaken. Let me verify that. Let's see. Good old Max Preps. KC East is... Let's see if it comes up on Max Preps. We'll see if we can't figure it out here in a minute. But KC East out of Kansas City, Missouri, 1-0. So they are number 9. And then rounding out the top 10, it's Christian Community out of White House. And they are 2-1. Big win this past Friday night over Grace Baptist down in Ottawa. And is actually Grace Baptist's first loss in the regular season. So Christian Community was one of those wins last year for Grace Baptist down in Ottawa. This year, the Colts able to get the best of the Golden Eagles. So a big, big win there for Christian Community. So they are at number 10. That rounds out your top 10. A couple of the other undefeated teams that might be a little bit lower on the list. Number 12 is Cornerstone Christian out of Columbiana. Of course, they've played 2, I believe, 11-man games. So 2-0. Southwest Louisiana Homeschool out of Lake Charles. They are 2-0, and they are sitting at number 17. Jacksonville Christian out of Jacksonville, Alabama, 2-0. They are sitting at number 22. The Coastal Hurricanes out of Pembroke, Georgia. They're in that SIFA. They are sitting at number 24. They are 2-0. And that is it for the 2-0 teams. A couple 1-0 teams, including Springwood Academy out of Lynette. They're at number 15. John Paul the Great out of Louisiana. They're at number 18. They're 1-0. And I think that does it for the 1-0 that are not in the top 10. So, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And, of course, they should be posting those soon. But a lot of great football over the last couple weekends. We were at a good game on Friday night. Sacred Heart of Jesus High School at Zion Christian. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But right now I want to bring on our first guest. And if you saw on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, of course you can follow us at 8Man Extreme on all of them. But our first guest is a guy who got a big win Friday night. So we'll talk to him here momentarily. You get the live the phone call sound.
James.
Coach, joining me now is the head coach of the Freedom Cowboys, the 2-0 Freedom Cowboys, Coach Kyle Collins. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Not a problem. Thank y'all for what y'all do and giving me the opportunity to do this.
Yes, sir. Hey, Friday night. Very interesting situation. We were getting updates on it, and first off, I think I said this to you. It's not every day. You've been coaching for how long? 16 years?
I think it's 18, actually.
18? Well, there you go. I just missed it by 2 years. I was close. In 18 years of coaching, have you ever been involved in a game that the score at one point was 5-0?
No, never have. And then it got to be 11-0, and I never had that happen either.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. So going into that game, obviously you guys had you knew a little bit about Providence. You guys had faced them in the Jamboree earlier this year, but going into that, coming off a big win against Zion, um, what were you talking to your guys about against a team like Providence that for a couple years they've just kind of been building and building, and this seems like the year that they might really kind of pop on the scene.
Well, let me tell you something. Providence is very well coached. They are very physical. They execute very, very well. We knew that in the Jamboree. I think Jamboree in that 25-minute running clock, they actually beat us. So we were a little nervous going into the game. We came off of Zion. We felt like consistency was something that we needed to improve on. We're pretty good when we execute correctly. We're not very good when we don't. And actually, Providence gave us some problems, and we weren't any more consistent Friday night. So we were lucky to get out of there with a win, to be honest with you.
Coming off of last year, of course, you guys play for a national title, and you're very very senior heavy. You got a lot of guys that have been on the team for a while, and so it almost seemed like a lot of people were going, okay, well they lost a lot of seniors, they'll be okay, and then at this point you guys are 2-0. It seems like you guys, and there's a couple teams like this, that you just reload. You just there's not even a rebuild. It's just a reload. What going into this season and kind of looking at the whole picture of how the team the team makeup, what was something you guys knew that you had to work on if you guys were going to take obviously in a brand new conference in Seek, but just as a program, something you guys were going to have to work on and focus in on.
Well, a couple of things. We got some good nucleus of players back from that team last year that was very, very successful. But that's a blessing and a curse. A blessing is you've got the talent, you've got the experience. The curse is, hey, we went 12-2 last year, and we're all that in a bag of chips, and we're really good. And do we really have to work hard? And that's kind of been the wording that I've given them the entire fall practice. Is, hey guys, last year was last year. This is this year. So uh, going into this year, we had to fill some huge shoes, and Joshua Butler, who was the all-time leading rusher in Cowboy history, but he was not also a leading rusher. He was the team heart and soul.
Yeah.
Uh, so we knew we had to do that. We did get our quarterback back. Do have our skill guys back. Our defense so far this year has been really, really good. So we've been really relying on that until our offense can come around. So we've changed our offense some too, James. We're trying to make it targeted for our personnel that we have, because we don't have that bulldozing running back like we did last year. So we've changed a little thing, and I think that's part of our inconsistency. We're not quite used to what we're doing yet.
You guys have always kind of been a run heavy team. Last year, you're able to open it up, throw the football a little bit more, and it seems like that's something you guys are trying to do this year as well. Is it kind of nice to be able to play call and have multiple things that you can do and not just go, okay, everybody's ready for the run? Of course, you've had great running backs, but everyone kind of prepared for, okay, we're playing freedom. They're going to run the ball. They're going to pound the ball. We need to prep for that. How nice is it to be able to open up the other aspect of the offense and be like, say, okay, we can sling the ball around the yard a little bit?
Well, it gives you some options, and it obviously means that they can't just load the box up and stuff you. But we also got to execute on that, right? So
Right.
if we're not able to push those guys back, then we don't develop a running game, which means we have to go to the passing game. We have been throwing it a whole lot. We really got some good receivers. Gav Maynard has been excellent this year. Uh, Jensen MacArthur has done a great job this year. TJ Lorio, who caught several big passes the other night. But and that just adds to kind of your arsenal and allows you to look at that defense over there and then pick and choose. Whereas you're right, years ago we were going to run, then we were going to try to pop a pass on you just to mess you up. Now we have both the run and the pass that we can go to that we feel somewhat confident. Although, guys, we had 4 interceptions and 2 fumbles the other night, so I don't know how confident I am in the passing game right now.
Yeah. Well, you took away one of my questions there. I was going to give you a chance to promote some of your guys and hype up some of your guys, but you just took it away from me. All right, I see how it is.
Well, listen, man. Let me make sure everybody that might
okay,
be
there you go.
Everybody might be listening to hear this. I'm only a good coach when I have good players. Okay,
right.
And we've not got any just super great players, but we've got several good football players, and when they play the way they're capable of playing, we can be a decent football team.
You guys being independent the last couple of years, and obviously you're playing for. By the way, Raymond Hunt says you're ancient, so just a little bit there. Looking at the live chat. The last couple of years, for a while now, you guys have been independent. Of course, you always play to go to nationals, and you've gone several times. But on a more of a local level, in terms of having a conference to play in, and I know we've talked about this before, but getting to play in a conference where you guys have a set playoffs to play for, and it's not 2 games in 3 days, which nothing wrong with that. It has its place. Everybody has their feelings on it, but to get to play, have a playoff system that you're playing towards and trying to get seeding and a conference championship to try to win. Those guys coming into this year and that kind of being a first-time thing for them, how have they responded with it?
Been very positive. When we got the invitation, that was the first thing I did. I brought the senior leadership council together, and I said, we have an opportunity, and it's really going to be your choice. We've always been national championship or bust, and that's all we've ever had. So if we had a 7-5 season, we had nowhere even to try to win a trophy, right?
Right.
So the first thing the guys said was yes, absolutely. The more games we get to play, the more we want to play, and it gives us an opportunity to win a championship. So that they really were the people that said, let's do it. And I said, let's do it. So far it's been great. One of the things we did talk about after the Zion game was, hey, we're 1-0 in the conference.
Exactly.
And so that adds another motivational thing that we can work on. So so far the reception's been positive.
Gotta bring this up. Evangel Christian. We talked about the rankings a little bit right before you came on. They got sent in. Evangel sitting at 1, you guys sitting at 3. It's for years now. It's kind of been you guys and Ezekiel a little bit in there, and other teams kind of making a little noise there in Alabama. But you guys in Evangel, that's kind of the game. Everyone has circle, and it's like, okay, who's gonna run? And it was just heightened last year with you guys getting to play for the national championship. But with Evangel coming on, I know every week it's okay. Who are we playing this week? We got to focus on this week. But they are coming down the line. That game is coming. What is something that you guys are working on now, or maybe a couple things that you guys are working on now that looking down the line, you say, okay, if we can fix this and we can get this working well, it's going to help us there?
Well, I know it sounds cliche, but we're not worried about Evangel right now. Okay, I do understand there's a rivalry. We Evangel and Freedom have played, I don't know, probably 25 times in the last 18 years.
Yeah.
And for a very long time, we were the victor for a very long time. Since then, we've been the loser. So it's always a big game. It's a rivalry game. I have a tremendous amount of respect for those guys down there. They have a fantastic program. They're always well coached, and they're always challenged. We're just right now in game 2, about to go to game 3 against an Ezekiel team, which usually gives us all we can stand. And we're really more concerned right now, James, is about Freedom Cowboys.
Fair
Who
enough.
are we? Who are we? What's our personality going to be? Are we able to execute? Are we able to be consistent? And, we'll probably sooner or later have to worry about those guys. But right now, I'm just worried about the 16 guys that are lining up for me now.
Now let's talk about this upcoming week. First off, whenever you guys, let's say you win on Friday night, the game coming up next Friday. At what point do you start switching to go from okay, or what do you encourage your guys with in terms of okay, celebrate this win, be happy that you won, but at what point do you switch gears and go okay, we got to start focusing on this Friday. We can't worry about worrying about last Friday isn't going to do us anything coming up. At what point do you make that switch?
Well, basically, we do it as a coaching staff on Saturday night and Sunday. We reviewed our film from last Friday. Now we're digging into the Ezekiel film, and then we'll meet tonight and we'll talk about our game plan of what we're going to do and how we're going to approach this week. And that's and then tomorrow we'll present it to the team. We'll if there's any tweaking that's going on, we'll rehearse that. Then we'll get back into fundamentals. And that's kind of the way we approach it, have been approaching it for years that way, is we really take it one game at a time. Now, everybody would be lying if you didn't look at your schedule at the beginning of the season and you don't peek at other teams and you do prep for later in the year while you're prepping for the early in the year. But this week it's all about Ezekiel. Look, we beat Ezekiel twice last year, and they were both great football games. Evangel beat us twice last year, and Ezekiel beat Evangel twice last year.
Yeah, that was all.
And so it was crazy.
Yeah.
So I mean, we understand their coaching staff. We always have to be at our best when we play Ezekiel. So we're certainly not overlooking the next week. And we really didn't feel like we played well at all. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Friday night was a very frustrating night for all of us. And so I think the kids are ready to get back on the practice field and right the wrongs and make sure that we're doing the little things, because the little things got us the other night.
Do you have any opinion about Tennessee 8-man and who, after getting to play someone like Providence and, you guys obviously – you got to play Franklin Christian in the Jamboree, right?
We did not play Franklin.
You did not.
Christian.
Okay.
We played JV.
If you looking at having experienced Providence, how tough do you think they'll be, or do you have an opinion on how they'll be in terms of Tennessee this year?
I think Providence has got a chance to make some noise. The skilled guys were pretty good, but quite honestly, they were a really physical team. They weren't a big team, but they were a really physical team. And when I watched them on film, I told one of our players, I said, look, man, they're a lot like us. They don't have any superstars sitting out there, but they got a good core of players. And that coach does an excellent job. I mean, when you're sitting on the sidelines watching their offense and their defense and watch how they respond and how they get into the right alignment and do the right assignment, they're very well coached. You get a very well coached team in 8-man football in the leagues that I've played in over the last 18 years, you're going to make some noise.
Riverside Christian, one more Tennessee question. Last couple of years, you guys they haven't had football. You guys have been able to, have some players from the school come down and kind of play on your team. And for years, you guys have kind of helped the Huntsville area. You've got some private schools that haven't been able to have football, so you guys are able to let them play on your team, along with some homeschoolers. But you got Riverside able to come in now for the last couple of seasons and contribute. How awesome is it to be able to give those young men that they would be able to play and things just didn't work out, be able to give them an outlet, not that far away, to get a chance to continue to get to play high school football?
Well, it all kind of came up last year during the summer when we heard they were having trouble fielding the team. We made a phone call to their coach and said, look, we're just going to open the door for you if you've got anybody. And he said, well, coach, I don't have a bunch of all-stars. And I cut him off. And I remember saying to him, hey, I'm not trying to recruit kids. I'm trying to give your kids an opportunity to play football in 2021. He was very appreciative. We ended up having 3 kids came down, and they were very much contributors. We've got 2 from up there this year. and they're both playing key roles. And it's all about giving them the opportunity. And I remember the first day they came down, I said, look, these guys are from Riverside today, but that's the last day they're from Riverside. They're
Yep.
part of our family. They jumped in. The guy Ray Hunt, who just made the comment about how old I am, was one of them. So you can see we built a relationship, and we're glad to have them.
That's bold coming from a guy that is a second string bench warmer at an NAIA school.
Well,
That's a
listen,
bold
we're
comment.
proud of Ray. We're proud of Ray. He's not the only one that bust on me. I mean, I've been doing it for 18 years, and I didn't start till I was about 41. So that tells you
Oh,
I am
wow.
ancient.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Last question, and Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to talk. You guys have been down to Panama City Beach several times and the national tournament. It's not for everyone. It's a tough format, 2 games in 3 days. But if you had to try to talk to someone about, who maybe on the fence about coming down, because the more teams down there, bigger competition, better competition. So if you had to talk to someone about, why you should go down to the national tournament, or maybe why you shouldn't, but what is your honest opinion that you would tell somebody about that tournament?
Well, the first thing is I think that tournament does need to be for the elite teams. Okay, we've been down there once or twice where I felt like that maybe we were outmatched and probably shouldn't be one of the 4 teams that were down there. So I think it needs to be first for that. Secondly, it's a great experience for the kids. It's a great experience for the families. The 2 games in 3 days is tough. Um, and as last year, it probably was one of the reasons that we didn't perform that well in the national championship because we were so beat up.
Right.
Uh, but it's a great experience. We've enjoyed it every year that you go down there, and if you have the opportunity, I tell everybody to go. But I would like to, I never said this to the people who run it, but I would like for it to be by invitation only, and you deserve the right to go down there because it is a special experience.
For sure. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, and looking forward to seeing y'all Friday night with Ezekiel.
All right, brother. We'll see you.
Yes, sir. We'll see you. It's Coach
All
Kyle
right.
Collins from the Freedom Cowboys. Appreciate him taking the time to talk, and they got a big one on Friday night. He mentioned they beat Ezekiel twice last year, but that's last year. And yes, Ezekiel's coming off of a loss, but every Friday night, anything can happen. Absolutely anything. So there's that. All right. Taking a look at this past weekend, talk about a couple of the games that happened. We mentioned the game that we were at, the Sacred Heart at Zion Christian. I don't know why I had a brain fart there just now. But anyways, we were there Friday night. And, of course, I mentioned there were games on so the rankings are live for the NHSA. So there you go. You can take a look at them now on Facebook. National High School Tournament, 8-man football is the full name at NHSA football on Facebook. Also, I mentioned this on the broadcast Friday night, but Hank St. Dennis and the whole group of them down there, they have done an awesome job every Friday night as scores come in and they start compiling them. They've done a great job of pulling scores from all over the area. It's not just one specific area; it's all over. And we'll run through it real quick here here in a minute. But make sure go give them a follow. Go check them out on Friday nights. If you're wanting a score of, it's really what I do is I go look on their Facebook page. I go, okay, what games that I don't know the scores, what games are have gone final, or have had scores reported. So, so Thursday night, Springwood Academy, Southern Prep, Springwood 40, Southern Prep nothing. Got a chance to listen in on the radio broadcast that Springwood Academy has, and it was really cool to hear the commentator say something that we've said for a long time. And they're near the end of the game. They're talking about it, and they said, man, we really didn't know what to expect coming into tonight. First 8-man game. Not really sure, but if you were looking at it without digging, you would not know the difference. And that's what everybody has said for years. It's like, look, don't judge it before you watch it. And even after you watch it, you may still have an opinion of it. Cool. Everybody's got the right to their opinion. But don't judge it. Don't prejudge it. And a lot of people have done that, and it's hurting a lot of kids. But they got the chance to see it Friday night, and safe to say, I'm pretty sure that they're convinced. They're sold, at least for now. So that's a big win for Springwood Academy there in the AISA. Puts them in conference 1-0. A couple other games happening Friday night, not more than a couple, but mentioned big win in Ooltewah, Grace Baptist hosting Christian Community, and it was the Colts, 30-16, big win for Christian Community. They continue, of course, week 1, lost to Franklin Christian, and then a week back from this past Friday, big win over Franklin Classical. Now a win on the road against Grace Baptist. Both those wins on the road, by the way. Franklin Classical and Grace Baptist. So they've got a big home game coming up on Saturday. We'll talk about that later on in the show. Coastal Hurricanes 36, Augusta Eagles 18. You know what? Let's stick with Tennessee. Let's not we'll bounce around. Cornerstone Columbiana played their second consecutive 11-man game before they start their 8-man schedule. 16-6 over Coosa Valley. Cornerstone Rainsville 44, Success Unlimited nothing. Success falls to 0-2. Cornerstone, meanwhile, 2-0. Big win for the I think it's the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken. I might be, but I'll check it here in a minute. By the way, KC East, I did check. They are an independent team, so they have a shot to go to Panama City Beach. We'll see. Hillcrest Christian, team out of Mississippi, independent team, been 11-man for years in the MAIS. Made the move to 8-man this year and played one of the MAIS 8-man teams and lost 28-22, lost to Deer Creek. Battle of Evangels. Evangel Lightning, Evangel Lions. It was the Lightning. It was all Lightning. 48-0. Alabaster over Montgomery. So I don't know. Maybe here soon we'll get an announcement of a name. There's only one real, will a real Evangel please stand up? And they did. So there you go. And, again, Evangel Montgomery, a little bit of a skid. Struggling a little bit. It happens. Don't get discouraged. Keep going. Keep pushing. That was not a conference loss, so there you go. There's that. But anyways, Franklin Christian 60, Lancaster Christian 30. Big win for the Falcons. They moved to 2-0, and they are sitting at number 2 in the NHSA rankings. Lancaster Christian got a big win over Lighthouse Christian a few weeks ago, and then since then losses to Providence, and now Franklin Christian sitting at 1-2. Freedom Cowboys, we mentioned 26-11 over Providence Christian. Jacksonville Christian out of Jacksonville, Alabama, 49. Trinity Christian 6. Big win for Jacksonville Christian. We talked to Coach Miller a few weeks ago. Got the chance to have him on the show. But I do want to mention. I was going to look up the stats, but I don't think they're there. Jacksonville Christian now moves to 2-0, and then like I said, you've got Russell Christian at 2-0. So at some point, matter of fact, let me look it up real quick because I want to see when Jacksonville and Russell play. Of course, we'll have Russell Christian in a few weeks against Hillcrest. Let's see, Jacksonville Christian on Max Preps. And where is their conference? All right, Jacksonville Christian Thunder. Let's see. So they play Russell. October 7th. Ooh. At Jacksonville. That'd be one. That'd be a good game. We'll see how they go throughout the season. It could come down to both of them being unbeaten. So, uh, KC East, 64, Cornerstone Family 40. Lighthouse Homeschool, big win over Southern Christian, 63-26. North River Christian, 67-61 over East Central. Pack Panthers, 60. Harvest Christian, 16. Russell Christian, 38. Ezekiel Academy, 18. South Haven Christian, big 64-20 win over Lighthouse Christian. Southern Academy, 46. Meadowview Christian, 6. 11-man game that Meadowview was, running back. And then the game we were at Friday night, Zion Christian, 42, Sacred Heart 12. And do apologize, by the way, Friday night, if it's not one thing, it's another. So still having had a few video issues going on between the internet and the camera and the computer. So we will get those fixed. I promise it's coming. If it's not one thing, it's another. So, and then Saturday had a couple games. Blue Jacket High School 66, Cornerstone Spartans 36, Fort Wayne King Crusaders 42, Holgate 20, and then Southwest Louisiana Homeschool 54, Acadiana Christian 20. So big wins across the board, and we mentioned the rankings there earlier. But excited. Football is in full swing, and I really hate we don't have video today because I'm repping the team that kicks their season off Thursday. They're a orange team out of Knoxville. Go Vols. Anyways, real quick, I'm going to run through a couple of these games because some teams do put their stats on Max Preps. So, let's see if I can pull up some of the stats. We'll look at a couple of them. Let's hop over to Cornerstone Christian out of Rainsville. They are the Eagles. And let's see. So for first game. No, it wasn't their first game. So they've only got one game's worth of stats on Max Preps. Let's see. Look at it. Trying to find a couple of these teams that have stats on Max Preps. Also, Friday night, you had Red Bowling Springs 28, Tennessee Heat 27. 1 point win for Red Bowling Springs. Close game. Tennessee Heat, a couple 11-man obligations that they had to fulfill. And they're running through those and getting those out of the way, and then they'll be able to really hone in on the 8-man portion of their season after they get some of these 11-man games out of the way. But real close win for them, or a loss for them Friday night, rather. Russell Christian went over Ezekiel Academy. Let's see if they've put. Let's see if Ezekiel's put stats up. Russell Christian has. Let's look at the box score. Russell should have some here. So they both have stats up. Hey, what about – let's go. Round of applause. Both of you coaches. Great job. All right. So let's compare the quarterbacks. John Benny Jones and Ryan Shelton. So John Benny Jones, week 2, Extreme Player of the Week, presented by Brandon Atkinson with Wyguard Realtors. Friday night, 9 of 19, 216 yards, 3 touchdowns. Ryan Shelton, 5 of 14, 68 yards and a touchdown. Rushing, the leaders for both teams, you had John Benny Jones again, 8 carries, 186 yards and a touchdown. And then for Ezekiel, you had Brandon Davis, a freshman, 12 carries, 77 yards and a touchdown. And then Jakyle Sims also added in a touchdown off of 3 carries. Receiving for Russell Christian, Cam Darden, senior, 5 catches, 158 yards, and it has him down 3 touchdowns. So doing the lion's share of the receiving. Receiving leader for Ezekiel, you had Jed Morris with a catch for 44 yards, and Emmanuel Grant, sophomore, with a catch for 19 yards and a touchdown. And then going down to the defensive side of everything, tackle leader for Russell. I'm just spoiler, same person, John Benny Jones, J.B. Jones. 12 tackles for the Warriors. And then for Ezekiel, you had Sam Blount, the junior, 7 tackles, led the team in tackles. And then you had Melvin Spells, Sam Brown tied for tackles for loss with 2 each. And then for Ezekiel, you had a sack for Sam Brown, sack for Wesley Spear, and then a couple passes defense for Ezekiel. So, again, defending player of the week, John Benny Jones, not backing down at all, and really, really showing he's a valuable player. If there was an overall 8-man, he might end up winning most valuable if there was such a thing. But speaking of Alabama 8-man, I want to take a look real quick at Evangel Christian. Of course, 3-0, number 1 in the NHSA rankings. But I want to look at their players real quick. Matter of fact, we're going to go to the box score for the game against Evangel Christian Montgomery. And let's give a couple of these young men some shout-outs. So it looks like Evangel is the only team that has put stats up. So Eli Whitfield, 6 of 12, 141 yards and a touchdown. He's a passing leader. Will Welch got a few reps. The sophomore got a few reps there at quarterback as well. Had a really good showing last year as a freshman at national championship. Of course, he's the JV quarterback. Hunter Atkins led the team in catches with 11, and then Will Welch, in rushes, carries. Hunter Atkins led the team in the number of carries, 11. Will Welch had 5 carries from quarterback, so he had 108 yards and a touchdown. Hunter Atkins, though, 11 carries, 94 yards, 3 touchdowns. So averaging 8.5 yards a carry, and then putting 3 touchdowns on the board Friday night. Receiving leader in terms of catches, it was Hunter Atkins with 3 yards. It was Kyle Jones, the senior, with 109 yards. He had a touchdown, and then Josh Lumen also had a touchdown, receiving touchdown on Friday night. Scrolling down to defense, the tackle leaders, Caden Jones, the senior, with 7. Also had 2.5 tackles for loss. You had Cole Romano, Clay Stanton, and Grady Watkins, each with a sack. You had Cody Bolin with an interception, a couple passes defense for some other guys. So, real good showing from Evangel Christian. There you go. We're going to step aside just for a couple moments, and then when we come back, we'll talk to the head coach of the Pack Panthers and the head guy for the SIFA, Tim Humans. This is Extreme Talk presented by Complete Solutions, Complete Real Estate, and Complete Wealth Management. Also presented by Brent Atkinson with Wycard Realtors, the Realty Group, Sutton Pools, Jason Goolsby and J.D. Young of Blackwell Realty, and by Fairlife Core Power Protein. We're back. Quick little break there. Extreme Talk presented by Complete Wealth Management and Complete Real Estate, your one-stop shop for financial coaching and asset management. We're also presented by Jason Goolsby and JD Young of Blackwell Realty, Fairlife Core Power Protein, Work Hard, Recover Harder, Brent Atkinson with White Card Realtors, the Realty Group, and by Sutton Pools. Right now, I want to take the time to bring on my guest. He is the head coach of the Pack Panthers. He is also the head man for the SIFA, the Southern Independent Football Association. It's Coach Tim Humans. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Thanks for having me on, James. Hope you're having a good day.
Yes, sir. Big win for you guys Friday night. Big conference win, of course, coming off of the game against Jefferson Davis last Friday. Kind of looking to get your team back on track. How big was it to get that win over Harvest Christian Friday night? Was it Harvest? Might be
it was Harvest Christian. You know what? It's always good to come back after a game like we had against JDA. I tell my players it's not whether or not you get knocked down, it's how you respond. And fortunately, we were able to respond good this past Friday. This was Harvest's first game as a program. Coach Anthony Day's got that, going to have that program and at a top level within a couple of years. They've got a couple of really good players. They put a scare in us on the first drive. They drove down the field in about 6 or 7 plays and scored a touchdown on us, and I thought we were going to help them make some history, the kind we didn't want to make. But they played a great game. It gave us an opportunity to gain some momentum, gain some confidence, get some younger guys some playing time, and so it was good all the way around.
Speaking of that game with JDA, and I'm not going to dwell on it, but speaking of that game, you guys and Augusta Eagles able to kind of take on some teams from the SCIFA.
Yes,
SCIFA. I'm gonna get it right. So you guys were able to take on a couple of those teams and kind of I don't know. Did you guys look at it as kind of a gauging yourselves on what you needed to work on, what you didn't, and then as close as the game was. What was some of the positives and negatives coming out of that you guys looked at going into Friday's game with Harvest that you guys could either work on or things that you said, okay, I'm glad this is fixed. Now let's move on to this other side.
Well, first of all, we do use our games against the SCISA teams, which are the larger private schools in South Carolina. We do use those as a measuring stick. It's always good to step up your level of competition just to see where you are. See what you need to improve on. Last time we played JDA was a couple of years ago, and we actually beat them. I think it was 18-14, 18-16, somewhere along in there.
Yeah, it was close.
It was close. Different coaching staff down there now. Coach he transferred from Clarendon Hall over to JDA. He's definitely got them headed in the right direction. Some positives that we took away. Well, first of all, JDA went on this week, and they beat another SCISA team by the same score. So that gives us kind of a barometer of where we match up with those guys. We were able to find out that we've got a pretty strong defense. Our strength is in our defensive line. We do have a good secondary as well. They were a power running team. It's frustrating because you sit there and you yell at your players, you got to watch out for the pass, watch out for the pass. They were one of those teams that would – they would run out formation and they would just 3 yards in a cloud of dust for 9 plays. And on that 10th play, they'll do a tight end release and he's wide open.
Yeah.
So it helps reinforce what we try to teach our kids. You have to focus on the fundamentals and you have to play your responsibility and don't worry about your teammates' responsibility. You play yours. And if everybody plays theirs, you'll win every game. But if you don't, you're going to get caught like we did against JDA and they'll get scores on them. It also showed us that we needed to work on. We had some first game jitters. We weren't able to get as many guys into the game. We were able to iron some of that out this past week against Harvest. We ended up having 10 different guys play in the backfield, ran 3 different quarterbacks. Out of the 8 touchdowns, I think they were scored by 7 different players.
Oh, wow.
So we were able to spread it around a good bit. And honestly, we didn't spread it around that much intentionally. That's just a difference between the team we have this year and the ones we've had in the past. In the past, we've had teams that would have 1 or 2 really strong players that teams could focus on. And this year, our talent level is spread out a little more. You know, we're a very young team, but we've got talent, you know, in all areas. Just it needs to be developed and nurtured and refined a little more.
I kind of wanted to ask you about that too. Now that you brought up last year, the team that you guys had going into, you know, for that conference championship game, and then looking
Yep.
at the team you have this year, you kind of answered it, but I do want to ask, what are some of the things that you said? Okay, we have these guys coming back. For instance, we know that this side of the game is going to be solid. And then what are some things that you guys looked at and said, okay, now this is a new team, maybe a couple of the same people, but a new team, and these are some things that we're going to have to improve on.
Well, you know, it's really weird because we had a large senior class last year. We graduated either 10 or 11. I forget the exact number. And then we had 5 additional players that we anticipated coming back, decided not to. They just went and played other sports or decided to focus on mission trips or work.
Yeah.
And so we thought last year was going to be a rebuilding year, and then we turned around and we faced the same thing this year. You know, in that conference championship game, you know, Greenville definitely got the better piece of us in that game. We got outplayed, outcoached. One of the things that was kind of our downfall in that game is we basically had 2 tailbacks. We had to rely on those guys all season. And in that game, Ryan Brown had he ended up having a broken foot, and we actually played him in that game not knowing that it was broken. He ended up coming out after a few plays, wasn't able to go on. And our other one, he had a high ankle sprain from the week before against Coastal.
Yeah.
And you know, so we were limited in that, which makes us a little more one-dimensional. And those guys who were forced into that one dimension were freshmen. And, you know, they got the jitters, and, you know, it's one of those things. You just got to work it out. You know, you got to get past the age. You got to get them mature. And, you know, that's one thing that we knew we had to work on this year. And we make it a point to try to get the younger guys into the game as often as we can, so that when they're actually called upon and we don't have a choice but to use them, they're ready to go.
In terms of SIFA, SIFA,
Yes.
the conference that you guys started last year, and
Yep.
you know, you've had some change in terms of the teams that are in it. But when
Yep.
you look at it as a whole, what are some of the goals that you guys have as a conference? And then what are some of the things that, you know, or are there teams that you're looking at going, man, I'd love to add this team, not because, you know, you're unhappy with the teams that are in it, but
Sure.
I feel like the level of the level of competition, the higher the level of competition gets inside the conference, the stronger it makes everybody inside that conference.
Oh, absolutely. And that's our ultimate goal. But what we want to do is we want to make sure we grow the conference with teams that have a very similar ethos. The principles that guide the conference. First of all, the teams that are in there now are all Christian-based. We have 3 teams that are primarily homeschool teams. We have two teams that are small private schools. Any of the larger private schools will generally tend to go to SCISA.
Right.
And so it's the smaller ones that we get in SIFA. But we don't want to grow for the sake of growth by adding teams that don't share the same philosophy that we do. We want to grow young men. We want to grow them into good husbands, fathers, and Christians. Not necessarily in that order. We want them to be better Christians before they can be anything else. And
Right.
we want them to teach them the game of football from fundamentals. We want to go with, there are 2 teams that have already expressed an interest. One is basically committed at this point to joining the conference. Another is fairly certain they will. What we want to grow to is the situation where we can play each team once and allow us to schedule more out-of-conference games.
Right.
And I think that would be good. You get the positives and the negatives when you play a team twice in a year. You know, you can't show them everything the first time you play, because then you don't have anything left in the playbook the second time. But at the same time, from a defensive point of view, you get to scheme against them, you know, twice. So you kind of see what they've got, and you know their players. You know, and from more of a social perspective, or the growth of the player, it's good because we get to develop relationships between teams, between players, between coaches. It's a very tight knit group of coaches that we have. We have a lot of fun bantering back and forth, sandbagging each other, you know, just talking smack.
Yeah.
Our players do as well, and we don't want to lose that sense of camaraderie just for the sake of growing. But we do expect over the next 2 or 3 years to get to the point that we're only playing each conference team once, and possibly even breaking up into 2 different divisions. If we can bring some more teams from Georgia or from North Carolina into the fold.
I meant to ask about that because you guys have a couple teams from Georgia, a couple teams are from South Carolina, and of course the teams from Georgia are kind of on that side of Georgia. But in terms of travel, like what do you guys have in mind with travel? Like, are you trying to say, okay, we want to stay within this range, or is it just kind of look, like what you said, if you're like-minded, we can make the travel work?
Yeah, if you're like-minded, we can make the travel work. What we would probably do if we got some teams that were, let's say in North Carolina or further out, we would probably break up into divisions and have, make basically more geographically based. We try to be very conscientious when it comes to travel arrangements for the parents and the fans, because since we are predominantly a homeschool league at this point, we don't have the team bus to transport the team.
Right.
We've got to go by POV. And so what we
So
do
it's
to kind of
it's the caravan approach.
you got that right, brother. And I've got a Suburban, and it smells like football right now because there are usually 5 or 6 kids in there at any given time. But what we typically do is as our teams develop a JV program, we'll try to do double headers. For instance, this week Pack is playing at Augusta, and we're going to play a JV game first at 5:30, and then we'll roll right into a varsity game after that. And that way, the fans only have to travel one time, and they get to see 2 games for the price of one. It saves on the cost of gas and the time and expense of being able to travel places like that. We're doing the same thing with Coastal. They're the only other team in the conference right now that has a JV program, and we're trying to get Harvest and Orangeburg Christian to the level that they can develop the JV program as well, because I think that's the key to growing the football or the level of football at the varsity level is to get them started younger.
Yeah, absolutely.
We lose a lot of players over the last several years to lacrosse and soccer and other sports because of the concussion issues. And you can either let that be an impediment to you, or you can use it as a means for growth. And we tried to use it as a means for growth. Without talking directly to the soccer team, we've kind of got an unofficial arrangement. I've got 3 or 4 or 5 soccer players that come over and play football. So I get good athletes, well-conditioned, who are fairly aggressive, and by the time they finish playing,
and decent kickers.
Absolutely, that's the best thing, man. And then when we turn it around, and when they return to soccer, they come back, they're still in shape, and they're more aggressive on the soccer field. And we've got a fantastic, great soccer team. And I'll tell you one thing: before the season, I was talking to my other coaches, and I said, we've got a decent team, but we're missing. We need a little more depth and size of the offensive line, and I need a kicker. And I'm not kidding you. 2 days later, I got 2 calls in the same day. One was from a guy who was about 6'3", about 265, who said, "Coach, I want to play football for you." And about 2 hours later, I got a call from a kid from the soccer team that said I wanted to kick. And he said, "That's all I want to do." And I was like, "Brother, you just answered a prayer, so come on."
That's awesome. That's awesome. Focusing on Pack a little bit, and you guys going into Friday night, and I wanted to ask about, you mentioned it, where you guys have to play double headers against each other. You talked about the pros and cons of that, but to me, one of the pros would seem like, you mentioned the camaraderie. Whenever you guys do get the chance to go to a like the Gatlinburg All-American game, it seems like a lot of guys sometimes from a team, they'll go up there. Maybe if there's 2 or 3 of them, they kind of stick together, and they might know some guys from other teams. But it seems like that sets up a situation where when the guys go up there, they all kind of know each other, even if it's from different teams. They know each other, they have a relationship, and they have a little community up there already that kind of helps them ease into the game and the atmosphere up there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we shoot for. Like last year, I think Ari Hill made the All-American game from Augusta, and we sought him out when we got up there. We got a picture of our players with him, and he was. In fact, I I was afraid his coaches weren't going to nominate him, so I went ahead and nominated him for All-American. I thought he was deserving kid. He was not only was he a deserving player, he was a great kid. And after all, we're here to coach our team, but we're here to develop people.
Yeah.
We're here to develop young men and players. And whether that is developing a player from my team or one from the other team, that's what we're after. I mean, that's God's calling for us. And, so we teach our kids and our coaches this way. If a player from the other team comes, if he's near our sidelines and he has a good hit, we're not getting mad at him. We're going to tap him on the helmet, tell him good job, and go back out there. By the same token, when our guys, when they lay a good lick, we tell them to, help them up, say, Jesus loves you, but I'm coming back on the next play.
You're training your guys to be from the south side of heaven, right?
Hey, you got that right, but we are hopefully still from heaven.
For sure. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. One last question.
Yes,
you
sir.
guys, with your postseason and the championship game, of course, we saw it last year. They're on the third weekend of November, rather.
November. Yeah.
Is there any chance that we get to see a CFA team at Nationals? Or is there anybody that you, maybe you with Pac, want to take a crack at that you say, you know what, if I get the chance to play this team, I feel like this would be a good measuring stick game for my team?
We had a discussion right as the season began. We're looking at possibly moving our championship game back 1 week just to have that opportunity if somebody does want to go to Nationals to be able to go.
That's awesome.
It's kind of hard at this point to do it because we would have to cut down one regular season game or eliminate the first round of the playoffs. But we'll have that discussion at the end of the season. And I always like the opportunity to go out and play new teams to get a gauge of where you sit. I got a couple of calls from 2 teams up in Tennessee looking for a game, and it happened to be on a week that we had an open date. It was our only bye week. But Harvest having a new team this year, we're actually hosting their home games at our home field.
Oh, that's awesome.
But even though we don't have a home game, we can't. We have to be there to make sure everything goes off as planned. So we couldn't take those games. But next year, I would love to do that. I know we're not at the level of some of the very top teams in 8-man football across the country, but we want to do. We want to get that measuring stick. I'd like to see them for the Freedom Cowboys or maybe Southern Prep, somebody like that we saw down in Panama City. I'd like to get a rematch against those guys, or
For sure.
Lighthouse Christian. One of the teams up in Tennessee. We'd love to get that opportunity, and hopefully it can work out. Part of the problem is our with the way our conference schedule is made up right now, we only have 2 open dates, and we reserve that first week 0, to play a SCISA team locally.
Right.
And then that leaves us with 1 open date. If you want a bye week, you can take it as a bye week, or you can use it to schedule somebody else. So maybe next year we fill in that bye week and just go 10 or 11 straight weeks.
It's almost like we need a weekend, a Friday, Saturday, where a conference like y'all takes on another conference who has a similar number of teams, similar type of teams, and you could just make a whole series out of it and just play, 3, 4, 5 games, and everybody gets to play somebody new.
You know what? If we could make that call to Rocky Top, that would be a great place to meet in the middle.
That would be an awesome place.
That would be fun. And you know what? I think we'd probably be good with that.
There you go. Coach,
see if you can make it happen.
We'll have to make some phone calls. I feel like they would be interested. I think that would be something they would bend their ear to.
Yeah, that sounds great. Hey, James, before you let me go, I want to thank you guys at 8-Man Extreme for what you guys do, bringing exposure to 8-man football. It's a great thing, and I hope we continue to see explosive growth in this level of football throughout the country.
I think we will, Coach, and I appreciate you saying that.
Yes, sir.
All right, Coach Tim Youmans from Pac Panthers and the SIFA. That's good stuff. It's something that has kind of been tossed around in different circles, doing some kind of season opening series. You saw this past weekend, ESPN, the big, Geico high school kickoff, and I think they had games yesterday. I think it was games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We've seen that in different areas. I think it's something that could happen in 8-man football, and it probably should. Like I said, you have a couple of conferences with a similar number of teams, similar type of teams. So who knows? That could be something that I think would draw a lot more eyes to the game and would kind of put it on the map. Get a big title sponsor to help with the travel. Someone that says, "Look, we believe in this. We are sold. We're sold. We want to give these athletes this platform, and it could happen for sure. It could happen. So." Want to talk about the games coming up this weekend, and matter of fact, we'll start in South Carolina / Georgia. On Thursday, let's see. On Thursday, you do have one game: Orangeburg Christian and Harvest Christian, both teams sitting at 0-1. So a conference game there. On Friday night, you've got Pack Panthers and Augusta Eagles. Pack sitting at 1-1. Augusta sitting at 0-2 rather, I believe. So, and on Saturday is a big one. It's not a CFA game, so we need to update Max Preps, but it is a big one, and I'm excited about us being able to do it. It's a North Carolina versus South Carolina. Cary Christian out of Cary, North Carolina, 1-0, and they take the trip down to Greenville. Actually, I think it's Travelers Rest technically. They'll take on the Greenville Hurricanes, who are also sitting at 1-0. Won a big 11-man game against the Anderson Cavaliers. So that game's coming up on Saturday. I think it's a 7 p.m. Eastern time kickoff, so it'll be a 6 p.m. Central time. So excited to get a chance to do that game. Switching gears a little bit, let's go to the Heartland Conference. Heartland Conference teams with teams in Mississippi, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. So Max Preps has a game on Tuesday in the Heartland Conference. It's Unity Christian out of Mississippi. They are hosting Delta Streets Academy, who is out of the MAIS. Delta Streets is 0-2. Unity Christian is 1-1. Let's see who Unity Christian's win is against. So Unity Christian beat Victory Christian this past Friday night, one of the CFA teams. Beat them 12-0. And then that was on the road. And then they lost to Arkansas Christian 50-38. So Unity Christian hosting Delta Streets Academy. So Max Preps has that game down as a Tuesday game, so we're going to go with that. And then on Thursday, Heartland Conference has a game, Oklahoma School for the Deaf and Life Christian. The Bison sitting at 1-0, and then Life Christian's Eagles, first game so far. So I don't know that that's right because it says it's at 10 a.m. Maybe it has something to do with Labor Day on Monday. Maybe something's up with the school schedule. So, anyways, Friday night, Heartland Conference has a couple games coming up. You've got, let's try this. Waurika. Maybe. 0-1, taking on Destiny Christian out of Del City. They are 0-1 as well. Claremore Christian 1-0, taking on Crossover Prep, their first game of the year. Arkansas Christian 1-1. They are taking on Southwest Christian. We got the chance to talk to Coach Greg Ferguson. We'll be there not this Saturday, the next Saturday. We'll be there at Southwest Christian, but they're hosting Arkansas Christian, who the Knights are sitting at 1-1. Going over to the TSIAA coming up on Friday night. You've got Lighthouse Christian at Providence Christian. Of course, the Lions sitting at 1-1. Lighthouse Christian sitting at 0-2. I don't know why that's not updated. I'll try to get that updated. Friday night, you also have Grace Baptist, and they are heading to Franklin to take on the Falcons. And that's a big game, big rematch of a couple close playoff game last year, close regular season game last year. So Lancaster Christian has the weekend off rather. So Grace Baptist 2-1, Franklin Christian 2-0. That's in the South Division. And then switching over to the North, a couple games happening. We mentioned Lighthouse Christian. Christian Community is hosting Sacred Heart. That game is on Saturday, I believe. Christian Community sitting at 2-1, and then Sacred Heart sitting at 0-1. Then you also have South Haven Christian at 1-1, and they are taking on Tri-Cities Christian, who are technically 0-1. Technically. Max Preps needs to get their act together because Tri-Cities was an active team, and they've marked them as inactive. So, Max Preps, get your stuff together. So, technically, Tri-Cities 0-1, but they've got the forfeit win with, what's their name? Hang on. What's their name? Bradley Knights. So, on Max Preps, they've got them at 1-1. Switching over to the AISA, Thursday. You got another Thursday night game. First ever matchup. Tuscaloosa Christian at 0-1. They are taking on Meadowview Christian, who is 0-2. Meadowview losing to Evangel Christian, as well as the 11-man game this past weekend, Southern Academy. And then on Friday night in the AISA, you've got Evangel Christian, the Lightning. They are hosting, well, hang on. Are they hosting Southern Prep? Hang on. No, they are going to Southern Prep. Fighting Rangers sitting at 0-2, had an 11-man loss, and then a loss to Springwood this past weekend. So, where did AISA go? Hang on. There we go. Got it back. Let's see. AISA. Other games happening on Friday night. Stand by. Got to get this loaded up. Let's see. So, for Southern Prep, for the AISA, there we go. All right, so we mentioned Tuscaloosa Christian, Meadowview Christian, Evangel Christian. The Lightning are at Southern Prep. Evangel Christian 3-0, Southern Prep 0-2. North River Christian is heading to Russell Christian. And Russell Christian, one of those teams that would have been AISA, decided to stay in the CFA. They are sitting at 2-0. North River is sitting at 1-1. Of course, North River had the loss to Ezekiel Academy and then rebounded this past weekend. Really close, high-scoring game. Looked like it would have been a fun game. 67-61 was the final. So they will take on Russell Christian coming up on Friday night. And then the other AISA game happening, if I can get it pulled up, Springwood Academy heads to Evangel Christian in Montgomery. Of course, the Lions, we mentioned, sitting at 0-1. Springwood Academy at 1-0. So, a couple big games happening in the AISA on Friday night. Switching gears to Tennessee/Alabama, we'll go to the SEC. A couple games coming up this weekend. We mentioned Tri-Cities Christian hosting South Haven Christian. You've got the Tennessee Heat hosting Franklin Classical. That is a North Division game. Tennessee Heat winning their other North Division game against Tri-Cities. And then Franklin Classical, only one game on the season so far, the loss to Christian Community. So, Tennessee Heat technically sitting at 1-2. That includes an 11-man loss by 1 point, and then the loss to the Lighthouse Homeschool by 1 point. So, Tennessee Heat there at 1-2. Franklin Classical 0-1. Ezekiel Academy 1-1. And then Freedom Cowboys 2-0. That game is happening Friday night, and that's the game that we'll be at. We'll be broadcasting that game. Super excited to catch that one. A lot of history between those two teams. Switching over to the CFA. Technically, the association is the ACAA, but the football division is the CFA. We mentioned Tuscaloosa Christian at Meadowview Christian. That game happening on Thursday night. Then on Friday night, you've got we mentioned North River at Russell Christian. Tabernacle Christian is at Success Unlimited. Tabernacle sitting at 0-1. Success Unlimited sitting at 0-2. Losses to Jacksonville Christian and drawing a blank on the other team. Cornerstone Christian out of Rainsville. So, trying to make sure this is, still alive. There we go. Cornerstone Christian, speaking of them, and speaking of Jacksonville Christian, both sitting at 2-0, and they collide this Friday night in Jacksonville, Alabama. The Thunder and the Eagles. That one's going to be one to keep an eye on. Two teams sitting at 2-0. They've both beaten a similar opponent in Success Unlimited. Pretty handily, I would say. So, last one we're going to run through real quick, the ACSC. All their games happening on Friday night. It's Southern Christian taking on Stewart County High School out of Georgia. Southern Christian's 0-2. Stewart County has yet to play a game on the season, according to Max Preps. We mentioned Ezekiel Academy and Freedom Cowboys, Evangel Christian, and Southern Prep. And then East Central Homeschool is hosting Trinity Christian. They are 0-2, and then East Central is also 0-2. So both those teams looking for their first win of the season. And I think Lighthouse Homeschool is off this week. Let's double check. 3 straight weeks, 3 straight wins. So I don't know. You could look at it one of two ways. Either you don't want to break the hot hand, or you just really, really, really need a break. You need to reset a little bit. Get ready for the upcoming stretch of games. We'll look at that real quick. Lighthouse Homeschool. Let's see. Yep, they are off this Friday night. So, and then they come back next Friday with Ezekiel. So, taking a week off, a little bit of rest, a little bit of game planning maybe, and getting set for the Knights. That'll pretty much do it. That'll pretty much do it for Extreme Talk, presented by Complete. We'll try to cue the music up a little bit. There you go. Presented by Complete Real Estate, Complete Wealth Management, your one-stop shop for financial coaching and asset management. We're also brought to you by Goolsby and Young, Jason Goolsby, J.D. Young of Blackwell Realty, Fairlife Core Power Protein, Brent Atkinson with Whitecard Realtors, and Sutton Pools. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see y'all Friday night in Huntsville.